You never realized how much silence can carry a sacrifice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand recognition. It hides in the smallest gestures, in the choices that nobody saw. What you live today may not be solely the result of your strength. There's a presence that gave up what could have been so that you could exist in this space, in this moment. Most of the time you don't notice. But if you stop for a few seconds, you'll feel something different in the air, as if a memory not your own was stitched into your path. It's the weight of a love that asked for nothing in return, a love that chose to disappear so that you could have light. How many times have you thought you were alone? How many times did you believe that no one cared? The truth is, while you cried in silence, someone else was also bleeding silently, so your pain wouldn't be even greater, that someone didn't need applause. They knew that the greatness of sacrifice lies precisely in being invisible, and that's why you didn't notice them. But that doesn't mean they weren't there. If you close your eyes now, you might be able to perceive what has always been hidden behind your victories, the price that you didn't pay. You think you survived alone, but it wasn't like that. There's always been someone carrying part of what you believed was only yours, not with words, not with promises, but with silent renunciations. They gave up dreams that could have changed their own story, gave up achievements that perhaps would have given meaning to their personal journey. And all this happened so that you would have a chance to breathe more easily. It's strange to think about. Strange because your mind seeks logic, but sacrifice doesn't move by logic, it moves by love. A love that doesn't need to be explained, a love that simply acts. How many times have you felt that you had no one by your side? Know this, exactly in those moments, someone was standing, invisible, bearing a weight that wasn't theirs. They endured the pain so you wouldn't be crushed. They crossed through loneliness so you could have company, even if you didn't know it. They silenced their own screams so you wouldn't go mad with the noise of the world. Have you ever noticed that some paths in your life opened up in inexplicable ways, as if something had moved before you arrived? Those doors didn't open on their own. Someone pushed, someone held firm until you passed through, and that someone didn't ask for anything in return, didn't seek your acknowledgement, didn't demand your gratitude. The greatness of the sacrifice lies precisely in remaining anonymous. But there are moments when silence speaks, and if you pay attention, you'll notice signs. Signs that it wasn't luck, it wasn't coincidence, it was selflessness. They were present when you fell. Not to prevent your fall, because there were lessons you needed to feel, but to ensure that the impact wouldn't destroy you completely. Think about how many times you believed you wouldn't have the strength to get back up, and yet you did. Where did that energy come from? Do you think it was just yours? Or did it come from a heart that chose to beat stronger just to support yours? It's hard to accept that someone chose to lose so that you could win, but that's exactly what turns that sacrifice into something eternal. They knew they wouldn't be remembered, and still, they chose. You didn't notice the eyes that turned away. You didn't hear the words that went unspoken, but if you had heard, perhaps you wouldn't have moved forward. That's why they kept silent. That's why they let you believe that everything was your own achievement. Yet deep down, every victory carries the mark of an absence, the absence of those who gave up, the absence of those who chose to stay behind. Have you ever suddenly felt a longing for something you can't name? Perhaps it's the longing for someone who gave up for you, a presence that stays in your memory, even if you've never seen it. And it's at that moment that your perception shifts. You realize you are not alone. You never were. If this has ever happened to you, comment, "I needed to hear this." Because when that realization hits, nothing is the same. You start to walk with more humility. You learn to appreciate what once seemed small. And you begin to see others in a different light. Perhaps without even realizing it, you too are called to sacrifice something for someone. Not in the same way, not in the same silence, but in a choice that will cost you something so that another can breathe. And when that moment arrives, remember, it's not about applause, it's not about recognition, it's about love. True love always leaves invisible marks. It lets go, it disappears, it loses. But what emerges from that emptiness transforms generations. Now take a deep breath. Try to feel that presence beside you. It doesn't need a face, it doesn't need a name, but it exists. And the simple fact that you are reading this now is proof of it. You breathe. And perhaps you've never noticed that this simple act has been sustained by choices that were not yours. Every step you took was paved in silence. Every opportunity that arose before you was born because someone gave up something that could have changed their destiny. Sacrifice is invisible until you become aware of it. And when that happens, everything changes. You understand that you are not the absolute owner of your own story. You are the result of renunciations. He didn't choose the easiest path. He didn't choose the comfortable road. He preferred to carry the weight that could have crushed you. He chose to lose himself so that you could have the chance to find yourself. Imagine for a moment how much pain was contained in that silence. Not just physical pain, but that which consumes the soul. The pain of letting go of dreams that will never be lived. The pain of smiling while the heart wanted to cry. And yet, he never gave up. He didn't stop halfway through. He didn't abandon the fight, because he knew you needed to exist. He knew you needed to get here. Have you ever wondered why certain inexplicable things happen to protect you? As if an invisible hand pushed dangers away, redirected situations, closed paths that could have led to your destruction? None of this was by chance. It was a decision made by someone who chose to be a shield. A decision made by someone who understood your life had value, even when you doubted it yourself. And maybe you never said thank you because you didn't even know. But now, awareness begins to arise within you, and when it is born, it never dies. You start to notice the details. You remember moments when you didn't have strength, but something inexplicable lifted you. You recall doors that opened when everything seemed closed. You remember the calm that came amid the chaos. All of this had a price, and that price wasn't paid by you. He paid, and he paid without ever asking for anything in return. The greatness lies exactly there, in never demanding recognition, in never putting the bill in front of you, in never throwing it in your face that he gave up everything. True sacrifice doesn't negotiate. It simply loves. And you can feel that now. This silence is not empty. This silence is full of presence, full of energy that vibrates around you. When you realize it, you'll feel a shiver. You'll feel as if a hidden memory crosses your chest. And this memory won't be yours, but it will be within you. It's the echo of sacrifice, an echo that doesn't die because it was made in love. If this touched you, write down below, I needed to feel this today. Because when you admit it, when you recognize it, something inside you begins to align. You're no longer walking alone. You're no longer fighting like someone without support. You carry a legacy of love that no one can erase. And this love transforms even the pains that are yet to come. You might wonder, why? Why would someone do this for me? Why would someone give up everything just for me to breathe? The answer isn't in words. It lies in the mystery of a love that doesn't calculate losses. It's in the mystery of a heart that prefers to disappear as long as you continue. And somehow this mystery now lives within you, because the same sacrifice that sustained your life is inviting you to look at others more deeply. How many times have you ignored someone's pain? How many times have you rushed past, not realizing there were hidden tears beside you? Maybe now is the time to learn from the invisible example that has always accompanied you. Perhaps it's time to sacrifice something as well, not because someone will recognize it, not because there will be applause, but because true love always multiplies. And when you truly love, you discover that losing can be the greatest way to gain. That disappearing can be the greatest way to stay. That renouncing can be the greatest way to live. Breathe again. Feel the silence. This silence isn't absence. This silence is fullness. And within it, someone is still sustaining you. Even now, you carry within you a story you didn't write alone. There are marks in your life that didn't come from your hands. There are victories that weren't born solely from your effort. And there are silences that have supported you more than 1,000 words could. He knew you wouldn't notice at first. He knew that in the midst of the rush, your attention would always be focused on achievements, on the most visible pains, on the urgencies of the now. But sacrifice doesn't need to be seen to exist. Sacrifice is like a buried foundation. You can't see it, but it's what keeps everything standing. How many times have you fallen into deep places and yet found a way to return to the surface? You thought it was luck, you thought it was coincidence. But if you look deeper, you'll see that someone was already holding your hand before you even reached out. He placed himself between you and the void. He stepped in between you and the pain that would have been unbearable. And he did it without expecting recognition. He did it because love is stronger than any need to be seen. Do you remember nights when loneliness felt like it would crush you? It's in those nights that he was present. Not to immediately take your pain away, but to prevent it from becoming unbearable. He shared the weight. He carried the hardest part, while allowing you to feel just enough to learn, not to die. This is the mystery of sacrifice. It doesn't take away from you the experience that shapes you, but it prevents that experience from destroying your essence. It doesn't rob you of your lessons, but ensures that your scars are not fatal. And all of this happened in silence. A silence so deep that you mistook it for absence. But the silence wasn't empty. The silence was filled with presence, a presence that chose not to announce itself. How many times have you searched for clear signs? How many times have you asked for direct answers, visible miracles, undeniable proof? And when you didn't receive any, you thought you were alone. But you weren't. You just didn't realize how much strength can hide in the invisible. He chose not to show up because he knew that if he did, your faith wouldn't mature. He knew you needed to learn to trust the invisible. And so he left subtle traces, almost imperceptible. Traces that are only now beginning to reveal themselves as you open up to see beyond the surface. Can you feel it? That gentle shiver, that restlessness in your chest, that nameless memory that insists on awakening. It's the memory of the sacrifice that has always been there, even when you were unaware. If this has moved you, comment, "It makes sense now." Because recognition is a powerful step. Recognizing transforms your perception. Transform the way you see not just the past, but also the future. You start to question, what can I do with this legacy of silence? How can I honor someone who never asked for honor? How can I carry forward this flame that hasn't gone out? Perhaps the answer doesn't lie in great deeds. Maybe it's not found in solemn words. Perhaps it's in simple gestures, as simple as the sacrifice you received. Listening to someone attentively, embracing those who have given up asking for a hug, holding the hand of someone who thinks there's no way out, letting go of something you could have just so someone else can breathe a little easier. This is how the cycle continues. This is how sacrifice isn't lost to time, because every act of love creates space for another to exist too. You don't need to shout it to the world. You don't need to flaunt your dedication. The greatest power lies in silence. The same silence that sustained you can now support someone through you, and that changes everything. Because suddenly you're not just the result of sacrifice, you become its continuation. You become the very echo of love that once seemed invisible. Breathe deeply once more. Feel the lightness of this truth. It's not just about someone who sacrificed everything for you. It's about you learning to make your path a place of giving too. And so what seemed invisible becomes eternal. Have you noticed that the greatest forces make no sound? They don't come with applause, they don't ask for recognition. They simply hold up, invisible, like roots that support a tree even when no one sees them. He was that root. He withstood pressures that would have broken you. He stood firm even when everything around seemed to crumble, and chose never to reveal himself completely. You think you survived by chance, but the truth is that someone held the doors closed so you could pass through. Someone hid their own pain so that yours wouldn't consume you. This type of sacrifice cannot be explained in words. It can only be felt. And when you allow yourself to feel, you discover that you have never been alone. There are memories within you that do not seem to belong to you, as if there is a presence weaving through your story, shaping every curve of your path. This is not imagination. It is the mark of those who gave everything in silence, just so you could have life. What's most remarkable is that they never asked for anything in return. They never expected your gratitude. They understood that true love does not need to be acknowledged to be eternal. And now you begin to realize. You realize that every victory of yours carries a piece of someone who chose to lose. You realize that your breath is a testament to a price paid in silence. You realize that the invisible is more real than you ever imagined. If this truly touched you, right, I felt. Because when you acknowledge, the silence gains a voice within you. And from that moment on, nothing will ever be the same. This conversation doesn't end here. If this stirred something in you, the next video will unveil what is still hidden. Click now and continue with me on this deeper journey.